Welcome, New City fans, to New City with Omnius Prime, Episode 3. Two cities with 2 million population. Normally, I end episodes showing you a city with 1 million in population. However, this time, I'm starting off showing you a city with 1 million in population to actually begin the episode. And what's cool is that I've got two cities to show you in this episode. Now, at the end of the last episode in Second City, I started playing around with highways. And as you can see here, in Third City, I've actually built an interesting highway system. Basically, what I did is I've kind of got two big boxes up here, okay, and then two smaller ones down on the bottom here. I started off over here somewhere. I think over here. That one right there is where I started. And as you can see, I've got farm and industrial land. Here we've got this cool looking cargo dock, which is pretty nifty. Oh, that's interesting. This little red truck here that you see here, and quite a few other places, like right here at the beach and at the amusement pier. That signifies that either they don't have a factory dedicated to sending them goods to sell or whatever, or that the traffic system is so bad that it takes so long to deliver. Now, forgive me for not running clock. I tried that when I did this little segment the first time, and I just didn't like the results. Now, one of the things that I did, my plan was to make two more big blocks up here and run the highway up. But as it turns out, you're looking at the whole city when I hit 2 million population. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was spread out my industry and agriculture. So over here, I saved a couple of squares, 4 here and 4 there, to do industrial agricultural areas. So I would put the agricultural in near the residential, and then bury the technical, the industrial back in the back here. Also, what I did was I zoned residential here along the highway. So this was just me trying to figure things out. Otherwise, I went with my basic standard layout, that I've been doing in the first two cities, leaving, the gaps here. But then as I was filling things in, I started filling in some of these big holes. Now, I love this, what do we call this? The huge mall, okay, with the blue blimp, and so I've got a couple of them here. And what I learned was to get smart, mark them as historical buildings, and that way they don't level up to the next level. Now, I want to now here you can see BIFCO, which, it's very, very polluting. And the county jail, or the jail, and then the casino. Now, I kind of got smart and put all these little buildings here in a row. Now, you'll notice no pollution around BIFCO. And that's because of these 6 buildings here that I will talk to you more about in the future. But these are my pollution control buildings. which are really neat. So I made my own mod, and later on in this episode, especially in the second city, which I call Fourth City, I went to town with mods. So I'm going to be back in just a moment, and we'll be looking at Third City at 2 million population. Here we are in Third City, and now as you can see, I've hit the 2 million and almost 58,000 population mark. And it basically is the same size as before. Um, One of the changes I made in Third City over the other cities is that I went with the railway stations above ground. So as you can see, that's the green line. There's a kind of a lime green line and a kind of a blue green line, and so I did my basic transit system. Okay, you can see I stop right here and right there, and these two stations are in, you know, walking distance or beaming distance from each other, so that passengers can make the interchanges. And if I come over here, you can basically see the system. Well, might as well let the clock run for a little bit now, and we can. One of the things I wanted to do was be able to see the number of passengers correctly. And you can see like there's like 403, there's 358. Um, so I got some pretty good usage here from my transit system. And if I come over here and take a look, daytime and nighttime I'm both running with the default of 30 minutes. In my next city that changes. But what it does is it gets a lot of people off the street, and that's the name of the game, is what you want is low traffic time. See that average travel time. Now here's my property tax rate, 1%. My unemployment rate is down to 0.19%, 1.8 thousand out of 2 million. I've got 36,000 open positions. Man, because when things level up, they just go nuts. Let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. And right here, I managed to nail this Empire State Building. Empire Scraper. So this is kind of a new building in the game. And woo, look at the traffic. Let's take a quick look at traffic and have a little laugh. But look at that. Look at how congested the traffic is here, even with the good. And look, you can see how cars will not make a left turn. They will go to the end of the road, make a U-turn, and then come in and make a right turn. So it's really kind of bizarre. And where it was really bizarre was right here with this huge quarry. Is this has got 100 factories in it, which is just plain ridiculous. And what it'll do is when the traffic comes out, it all comes out like at once, and it just all heads off to the right, runs around this roundabout or square about, and then comes back, which is really strange. I saw one situation where the traffic went around and then started to come back around a second time, and it just got all stopped up. So save the game, get out, go back in, and that clears up your traffic jam. But whew, there's some real bad traffic here. And as far as the highways, where did my highways go? Sadly, they're not getting used so much. That was the one complaint I heard on Discord, people saying that the highway wasn't used enough. And yep, that's for sure. So let's take a quick look at some more stats here. Let's look at pollution. pollution, I have no pollution problem. My crime, ooh, I actually managed to clean up the crime here, which is real nice. That's what can be tough sometimes. Education, all nice and green in the residential areas. Prosperity, pretty green, especially over here. But then when it starts to build up, that's when it can get tough to get the prosperity. Where the density is the highest, the prosperity is like the lowest. Now, here's value. Okay, once again, over in the not so populated areas, pretty good. But then when you get to the populated areas, see, there's that Empire State Building right there. But you can see how ugly, ugly, ugly. Density, pretty dense. I got this city. I found that by doing these I did 6 squares by 6 squares. Thinking that might be a good mix, but it was a little too high. And then what I did is I had 2 of these big squares, running down below before we hit to the industrial area. Community, not bad. A little bit of pink, mostly the blue, but nothing to write home about. Health, not too bad. Oh, actually pretty good. There's a little brown spot like right there. And it's kind of funny because sometimes, when I did this before, the health was kind of, oh, now I'm starting to see a few more brown spots like right here. Yeah. But I wasn't paying too much attention to worrying about putting in all the amenity buildings. So the main thing is that the highways do kind of help to separate the city a bit, but they're not carrying a heck of a lot of traffic. So what I had to do was figure out, okay, how can I improve my traffic usage with the highways? And so I decided in Fourth City, now you can see that all of a sudden we can see a few mods have popped up here, these vertical farms. That's why I kind of didn't want to run the clock so much in this city early on. Then what I ended up doing is I ended up putting agriculture and technical up in the back end area up here because I obviously needed more than what I had down here. So now, let's go take a look. Oh wow, and now you can see a couple of these big tall skyscrapers have popped up. And that was the other reason I didn't want to run this, because I didn't want to show mods popping up. But in Force City, I've got mods galore. So I'll be back in just a moment at 1 million population in Force City. Now, here we are in Fourth City at 1 million population. And if you notice, I started with kind of a sky shot, because just so you can see that cool new city blimp. And no, the sky isn't full of the Brood X cicadas. Those are police helicopters. So let's get the clock running. And you can see I got a ton of balloons. And yeah, I've got a ton of blimps and stuff. Now, I went nuts with the mods in this city. I decided to bite the bullet and try mods. And as you can see, look at that built up downtown area. And yeah, it looks a little like Third City, doesn't it? Except a much smaller area here for my industrial area. And notice that this time I got smart and I put my huge quarry in right at the end of my freeway system here. So traffic will come out here, go to the right, either go around and come back, or make a left turn and go head up north, or actually south. Um, Here, I have that dirty old Bifco. I have the game's basic jail. I have the casino, all the bad stuff. And then here is a mod that I'm not sure who did this, but what I'm going to do at the back end is list all the modders who I made mods with. Use their mods in my game. So there were actually some pretty good mods done by the modders. And you can see these vertical farms, vertifarms. Those are pretty cool. And of course here I have, in this area, 2 super docks. Now, I actually built this one from scratch. Had the game actually build it I built up my industrial area here, got Bifco in, and then actually got the game to actually place this super dock here when it got to level 4. Here, that was a little more problematic. I ended up just placing it myself. Decided that, yeah, I can take buildings that are in the game and make a mod out of them, and then like place them when and where I want to. But this one, I waited till it got up to level 4 so that it would place properly. Now, as you can see, I've got some really tall buildings here. This is right there. We go. This is this 2013 Mega Tower mod that someone made. But what I decided to do was cut down. They had something like 40 plus businesses or something. Now, I started off with at 10 stores, 10 offices with 120 families. And I found that I was having some problems with gaining workers as I was watching my residential pop up with these things. I ended up cutting them down to 5 stores and 5 offices so that when these things pop up, I'm still gaining some workers, not just gaining jobs. Now here, I took that Empire State Building and turned it into a mod so I could place it where I wanted to. And I think this is an in-game building that, yeah, this is, I think, an in-game building. And, you really got to look through the building designer to look at all the buildings to see exactly what they have. Now, let's talk about layup design. So now here's what I did. Now, I cut down the big blocks from 6x6 to 4x4. So I was able to fit 4 of them in, okay? And then run highways, or I like to say freeways. In the game they're called expressways. Run down the, down the center, north-south and east-west. And then along the sides, north-south and east-west. So I've got 3 basic freeways going north-south and 3 going east-west. And I decided to do something different about the street layout because it was just starting to get a little kind of boring. Now, as you notice, no longer am I building one of these intersections, one of these diamond roundabouts every 5 squares. So now, or 5 tiles. Now I'm going 10. Basically that's 8 tiles worth of road instead of going 3. Because then I'd go 3. I'd have the one from the roundabout and then one from here. So this makes it much quicker. Now, the other thing, my other brilliant idea was now, how am I going to connect up these inner roads to my outer ones? And that's when I came up with the idea to go into the roundabouts here. So I can have roundabouts now with 8 different boulevards coming into it. And there is not a single stop sign, not a single stop light in any of those 8 intersections. This is all just flow, traffic flow. Okay, and you can see those little police helicopters going around. And you're probably wondering, what's all these little buildings here? We'll get to what all those little buildings are in a moment. It's one of my favorite mods. And kind of like my favorite part of the game now is the building designer. And sadly, it's now broken. Can't build new buildings because now it's not reading the building design files, which is really sad. Now, here's another thing you're going to notice. I've got stadium here, I've got a stadium there, I've got stadium here, I've got stadiums all over the place. And supposedly these things are, supposed to be only one per city. And I just decided, screw that. There's not enough buildings here to make it worthwhile to limit us to one building apiece. What's this guy? Science Museum at 1 million. I've got multiple science museums. And finally, I even unlocked the zoo. Okay? Supposedly, as you can see, that's zoo/Omni. Now, let's see, I have some cool, here's a mod here that's a baseball stadium someone did. And I like it better than the in-game one. Here is a large green that was done. So now I alternate between large green and the grand green and the grand parks. And I try to put one pretty much everywhere. And then what I decided was, so I can have a big square, I can have a little square. I can make streets go up and down. I can make streets go, east-west. I can even do diagonals. Now here's a really cool, if you look at this big square here, I've got these 4 diagonals running so that there's almost one road going from this is actually the northwest corner to the southeast corner, except for these little roundabouts. But I decided I need to do something a little different with the street layouts. And I decided not to run something through the middle to cut down on the number of intersections and stuff. But yeah, I just love this because now all the traffic flows out into one of these roundabouts here. And it's just awesome. Just totally awesome. Boy, there sure are a lot of those little square buildings, aren't there? Now, what I decided to do is over here put in another huge quarry. Except that what I did is I got smart and I knocked it down to 20 factories. 100 factories is just plain stupid. And that's what the developer has decided to do, is just turn these huge quarries into disaster zones. They either create traffic disasters or they create pollution disasters. And over here, and then I ended up with 2 more super docks. This time I didn't worry about trying to build up my areas. I was more worried about building up the 2 million population. So I ended up going into the building designer, and I changed the minimum density from 4 to 0 and just placed them where I want to. Yeah, I'm not going to be limited by the choices of the developers. Now here's some cool little buildings here. These are little docks here, like fishing docks. And so what I did to make sure that they would stay there and not get replaced is I marked them as historical buildings. Let's see, over here, I did that. I tried to, what's too bad is they have some really nice buildings that, see, are like beachfront buildings. But trying to allow the program to kind of put them in for you. This is where I wish we had direct placement so that we could place our own buildings where we want to. And now there is, so here I also got some more of these cool beach houses and stuff with yachts and sailboats and stuff. But I wish that I had direct placement so I could actually go in and access these buildings and place them where I want to. And make sure that I had the coastline correct for being able to do this. Now here's one that, like an apartment complex, and luckily the program put it in. Now here we come, this is a different building. It's not your basic amusement pier. This one is called Showcase. But of course what I decided to do is it wasn't building, so I decided to make my own mod out of it. And there we go, Omni, and call it a pier instead of a park. Now one of the things is this has a very wide beachfront area. And one of the things that's cool about it is it has boats coming out of it. And I probably am not going to get lucky enough to get, there's like a big, kind of like a ocean liner, cruise ship kind of thing. And it'll go around the area here, but it kind of does it almost backwards. It kind of has the tail end going forward. It looks really comical. But this is Force City at 1 million. I'm going to come back in just a moment and then show you what it looks like at 2 million. Now, the other thing that I did is, you notice I have a small industrial area here and one on the other side. But now I start putting things like my farms and stuff along the highway. So it's not so much building up residential. Now, this is where the grand parks, the stadiums, all the big buildings now, and technical. I even put technical in by housing and stuff now, because I've learned how to control pollution. And let's see, I think this is a mod building right here. And this is the city court that somebody made. Another modder. And what do we have here? Oh yeah, this is the academy, and this is another mod. This is an education mod. But it looks pretty cute. And big. And that's where I found that, the highway system now is I can use it to incorporate big buildings into, like the stadiums, this baseball stadium, big farms and all that other stuff. So it fits in real nice. And you notice how I did the same thing over here, put the huge quarry in right at the tail end. I would hate to try to get the program to place these things where I wanted them to. So let me bounce out of here with this segment, and I'll be back, and we'll see Fourth City at 2 million. Here we are, back in Fourth City, and now with 2 million in population. Let's let the clock roll. So I got to 2,018,000. Limiting factor in growing Fourth City, game save time. I started and completed Third City in 58.11. I started fourth city in 58.11 and got the up to about 800,000 before I had to upgrade to 58.12. And then the save game times went up quite a bit. Whereas in third city, I think it might have been 20 minutes at the end for 2 million. It was 40 minutes for fourth city. So the save game time definitely went way up. Now, I will say one thing. In City Skylines, the best I could do was a little over 1 million. And I was one of the first to hit the 1 million population mark in City Skylines and make a video of it. So in New City, by going over 2 million, well, that's better than what I could do in City Skylines. And as I recall, save game time in City Skylines was also rather lengthy. Now, you can see I've got a lot of skyscrapers here, but not really so many more than when I had it 1 million. What I found is density is a fickle thing. And as my city grew, my density areas started to shrink a bit, so that like I've got a lot of, as you can see, there's a little bit of density here, there's some here, there's a bit in here, quite a bit here, right around the university. The university is kind of like the density magnet and stuff. And yeah, so now these buildings were like, level 10 buildings. It was funny is that I took the Empire State Building that I saw in the building designer and made my own version of it by dropping the minimum density to 7, so that I could build it when I wanted, kind of like where I wanted. And as I was running the third city, it actually popped it up by itself when I was doing the commentary. Now, obviously I used a lot of mods in this, and there were some really cool things that, really cool kind of beachfront buildings and stuff. But what I wish I had was direct placement. There's nothing like direct placement for being able to put things where you want, when you want. Now, some of this stuff just built on its own. And I didn't mark these as like, oh, that is a historical building. And what about this one? It's historical. So sometimes when it builds something, what I would do is call it historical so that it wouldn't build over it. See, like right there, that's also going to be another historical building. And this one this building here is keying off of a point off right here. But so what I did is once I got some of these kind of like beachfront property buildings placed, here what I needed to do was, well, I guess that looks about right for the water. As they built some of these things, what I had to do was go in with the bulldozer, the elevation tool, and kind of make water there so that the boats were sitting on water instead of land. The marina. And then this is what is called the showcase. Ooh, are we going to get the big boat this time? This is the showcase amusement pier, which is a little bit different. Now, if we're really lucky, right off above this green Ferris wheel, we would see a big boat pop up, like a cruise liner yacht, big old cruise liner boat, passenger boat. And it's kind of cool. It travels around the pier here, but it kind of does so backwards. It kind of like, moves the right hand part of the tail around the building so that the front is always kind of pointing towards the building. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get to see that, and I've got other things, other fish to fry, as they say. So one of the things that where I started to actually enjoy the game was playing with the mods. And you probably by now have noticed that. So let me first talk about my pollution control, which is right here. I put a bunch of them next to Bifco here because I built it early, and does it spew out the pollution. So I built these pollution control buildings to control, the really bad pollution, like from Bifco and that huge rock quarry that has 100 factories, which is ridiculous. And so the motto here for pollution control is: we'll clean the air, we'll clean the ground, we'll clean the water. We serve to clean. And they're not cheap. Right now, 55 million value, and it costs 37 million to run that, and I've got 4 of them over here, keeping control of the pollution. But they do a wonderful job. Now, on this huge rock quarry, they made this with 100 factories. And what I did is I cut it down to 20 factories. And now, instead of having this big traffic mess at the front end at certain times, now I don't have such a bad traffic mess. Also don't have such a bad pollution mess. Kind of funny, they talk about they don't want to do disaster, and then they do things that are just like disaster. Now, my favorite mod that I created, you can see there's a lot of these little square buildings just all over the place. And this is called the Bank of Funny Money. So what it is it gives off $1.5 million worth of amenity income. Okay? And it has an active helicopter pad, the parking lot, some hedges, a little statue, some fencing. But the big thing is it also does more than just gives money. A plus 10 on the value, plus 10 on density, plus 10 prosperity, plus 10 business, plus 10 prestige, plus 10 order. So what it's doing is also helping the city to grow. So the reason I got to these level 10 buildings, even though right now, like, this is only at level 8 and that's at level 7, my density's actually shrunk over time as I've been building up. Now, one of the things that these banks of funny money will do is build up, like build up your value, build up density. Look at that, 64,617, 64,356. Here in education, look at that, 50 million high school diploma limit, 25 million bachelor degree, doctorate degree, 507,000. A little bit outrageous. Okay. But the one thing I was able to do was I built this city from scratch with boulevards and highways. Never built a street or avenue. Every street in this city is a boulevard. It's all about speed. Speed, speed, speed. So boulevards are the fastest. And I was able to get the highway design to work in a way that, here you can see some traffic coming down from south to north and then heading across towards the west. because I right now north is to the bottom, but I finally got the highway system to carry traffic, which was really cool, you know, and with the limitation of basically no curved track, um, I found a way to use just straight lines to make it all work. Uh, Now what I did is see, now I have like 8 spaces, 8 tiles worth of boulevard just to fly down. No more interruptions. Um, and then I incorporated my bridge and my highway on and off ramps all in um, one thing. And these are the only places, these intersections for the on and off ramps for the highways to the bridges here are the only places where I have stop signs. I don't use stoplights because I noticed that cars in this game, like in most of the city building games, will treat a stop sign as nothing. They do California rolling stops. So if there's no traffic around the intersection, they go straight through. They don't even stop. So yeah, stop signs instead of stoplights. And yeah, so basically, I decided to have fun with the mods, okay, and make my own mod like this Bank of Funny Money. So let's let's take a look here. Now, my pollution, there is no pollution in my city. I mean, it's just jacked with all those parks and stuff, and the way I I do the double whammy of nature and environment. Uh, the parks in the game are garbage for fighting pollution, just garbage. So much is just garbage in this game the way they've designed it. So I just started to make my own versions. Crime looks good, no crime. Education, look at all that green. Okay, prosperity. Ooh, I have a couple of little dark spots there that aren't quite as prosperous as I'd like them, but mainly all green. I mean, and now we're not seeing the really bad stuff like in Third City. And that's the banks of funny money. Value. Look at that, man. Total green. Like in Third City, man, there was around where it was dense, really dense population, residential. Pooh, man, the value would just tank. And density. Now, Fourth City is not as dense as Third City was. But then what I was trying to do was kind of spread things out a little more. Yeah, I wanted my downtown section with the super tall buildings, and yes, I can confirm that yes, we can get level 10 density. It is not easy. There looks like to be a real dense thing. Uh, the tricks to density tend to be office and retail in combination with residential. I have learned to use mixed use a lot more. Now, community. Check that community out, man. It's like all pink except for like, the big highway intersections and strangely enough around that stadium. And you can see I've got multiple stadiums instead of, why limit myself to just one? So, yeah, I just decided, I'm going to use the building designer and stop letting the developers frustrate me with these silly little limits. In health, kind of like in the pink. Oopie, a couple of little brown spots. Now, one of the things that I never do is you notice I always, leave some empty spaces. Why? So if I wanted to do this, and let's come over here. Let's get a hospital. Yeah, this one's a real good one. Boom. Now let's watch. And you see that took care of that health problem like right away. Boom. But you want to leave space so you can build things. You don't want to just fill it up to fill it up. You notice that I leave air in my residential layout so that I can always put in an amenity building if I need it, where I need it. and also to keep the density from being too overwhelming. Traffic. Oh, sweet. Look at that, man. Look at that freeway. That's jamming. Oh, man, that's jamming. Look at that. And there's the blimp. A blimp. Man, I got so many. Woo, something. They really are coming on here. But like I said, I was able to finally figure out, yeah, Forest City ranked friendliest city. You better believe it with all the parks and stadiums and stuff that I have. But look at that, man. Now there's a busy bridge, and as you can see, there's traffic coming down here to that central one. But yeah, look at that, man. I got the freeways working. And it was, whoa, man, look at that ant line coming down here. So that's where it's coming from. So yeah, it was a matter of going to the 4x4 layout so that I got more freeway coverage going in from top to bottom and stuff. And the transit, they're moving a ton of people. And one thing, like I said, free tickets, free transfers, all underground, all underground. And the other thing that I did was I went to 10 minutes between trains during the day and 30 at night. 30 is the default. And I find that, yeah, that's getting the job done. Okay, let's see. I want to go back to the thing here. So yeah, I just love it. That amenity income, man, 20.9 billion, and I'm spending what 18.9 billion. Education, 817 million. 12.5 billion in parks and recreations. 4.2 billion community services. University, 1.3 billion, and I actually have 2 extra schools in my university. In transit operations, 117 million. So as you can see, yeah, I did this all without having to charge any taxes. And because I started playing with the mods. And so what I really ended up with was a really cool city. So I'm going to, I may have already listed some building stats between the 2 buildings. I'm also going to list the modders in the extra credits. As the extra, when the ending credits come up here in a moment. Now, one thing I'll say is New City, it's got its pluses, it's got its minuses. Doing the early access, there was 2 months where they had a bunch of bad updates, and that was just not good. Finally got a good update after 2 months, and so I was able to build 2 cities. And thankfully, the second update after that didn't mess things up. But I wasn't starting a city from scratch. New City, I mean, it's kind of like a poor man's version of City Skylines. So, it's kind of a low-budget game, and you're going to get what you pay for or not get what you don't pay for. So there's not a lot of features like City Skylines, things like that. It's kind of a dumbed-down game, and right now in the early access version, there just aren't enough buildings. So it's going to be a while before I decide to make another episode. I want to see them build up some more buildings and stuff. Add some new features, fix the financial system. It's broken. The line of credit amount It's kind of funny. Will give you money as your city value grows, your line of credit value grows, and it kind of gives you money. The game kind of gives you some money, but but then at the back end, you have to pay it back. So you might have like over $1 billion saved up, thinking, "Man, I'm going to do some big project," and all of a sudden, the $1 billion is gone because it's collected it for paying off your loan, and it'll pay off a loan without telling you if you want to do it or not, and it goes all or nothing. You can't do any partial paybacks, and that was one of the reasons why I did the Bank of Funny Money, because it's like screw that. I don't want to fool around taking forever trying to build a city. Um, it actually took me 20 days to build Fourth City. Normally, I was building some of the cities within a you know, 7 to 10 days. I think Third City might have taken about 10 days. But but yeah, it's kind of a dumbed down city skylines. Um, Hopefully, they'll put in direct placement. Direct placement would really, that was the feature in city skylines that really made it rock. I'd like to have more control over where these doggone super skyscrapers pop up. I mean, and I don't want to waste my time trying to designate all these buildings as historical buildings, you know? And like I said, the density thing was fleeting. The density 10, I got up to density 10 around before the million population mark, and then the density started to reduce as I was reducing the number of these banks of funny money. Because man, I had them like packed in real tight early on. So you can use the banks of funny money to really jack up an area for density and value and prosperity, um, to get those either high density or high value buildings triggered so that you can unlock things. There's another blimp, tons of balloons. So I wish I could show you the building designer, but sadly it is broken. That's just one of the bad things. It was working, 2 months ago, and so sadly now you can't. It doesn't see the building texture files. It just gives you a null, so you can't really start a new building with whatever texture file you want. So hopefully that'll get fixed, because it'd be fun to show you the building designer. I wanted to make a couple of other mods just to put in the city to make it look kind of cool. But when I discovered I can't make new buildings and the building designer is broken, I decided not to. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I don't know when my next one will be, but I'm going to wait a while to see something more substantial from this game, and see some better mods. Now, the Bank of Funny Money, we print money 24/7 every day of the year. We can print some or all of the money your city needs. And man, was it fun to just not have to worry about money and to just build boulevards as boulevards, and not do the street to avenue to boulevard upgrade nonsense. So, hope you enjoyed the episode, and hope to catch you on my next episode.